Welcome back to theCUBE's live coverage here in San Francisco for Databricks' Data and AI Summit. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. This conference has got 31,000 people up again, keeps getting bigger and bigger soon. They're going to bust out, probably end up in Las Vegas, a bigger venue, because the growth of data and the growth of AI is significantly happening at the same time. Of course, the AI infrastructure is continuing to build out. We got supercomputing, enabling massive growth, and new opportunities and challenges. This next panel is going to talk about security. This next industry veterans, we got Krioukov, GM of Lakewatch at Databricks, and Patrick Wright, CTOO, Chief Technology and Operations Officer at National Australia Bank. Got that right, not Australia, Australia. Guys, thanks for coming on theCUBE, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
It's getting loud in here, people are packed.
It is very loud in here.
Yeah.
Security, the tagline has been, it's built in from day one. Okay, I get that, but now we're in a whole nother ball game with security and agentic on the horizon. We heard from Databricks today, very straight up, transparent. We're not ready for prime time, you got to get it right, you got to get the data right. It works in certain use cases, but it's not yet going to be the silver bullet, because there's a lot of things get wrong. Nobody wants to hear that in security.
No, nobody does.
Nobody does. So what is the state of the union for security right now? Because this growth has benefits. What are you seeing out there right now for security in the AI world? Approach, best practices, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll start, maybe you can add on to it. What's changed in the last couple of years is the attackers are now automated. I mean, they used to be automated, but now they're hyper-automated with agents and large language models that can find vulnerabilities that haven't yet been found by the people who wrote the software. That's point one. Point two is the velocity of software development is increasing dramatically, and unfortunately, I'm one, developers don't always write secure software. So I think the number of vulnerabilities is going to continue to increase. And so we have to respond, in particular as a bank, we've got to start battling all this at machine speed. And security operations teams used to be that. People looking at keyboards at 3 o'clock, looking at screens at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's changed dramatically. And so what needs to happen is we've got to pivot everything we do to widen the telemetry of data we look at, and to automate the work that was traditionally done by a security operator, and do it in an agentic way. So,
Lakewatch, successful product. You got the Panther acquisition. That came in late last night, big keynote announcement. Obviously not a lot of specifics to talk about. You guys don't usually have all those details out, but what does that mean directionally for you?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's really the same vision we had for Lakewatch, just moving faster, getting it done at a bigger scale. So, Lakewatch has, from the very beginning, been focused on how do we help you bring in as much data as possible. And really, to Patrick's point, you have to have all of the data at your disposal here to be able to stop the attackers. The attackers are going to get in through any means they can. They have agents now where you can automate so much of the attack process, and we're seeing this basically more attacks at a bigger scale using previously unknown vulnerabilities, and so data is going to be fundamental to the defense.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it being in your stack, obviously the capabilities, so the question is how do you see that coming into the stack, and what does this do for people that want to replace their legacy SIEMs? Because this is an opportunity, as you mentioned, the environment's changed. If you took a situational awareness and the market, might be an opportunity. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, absolutely. We're seeing both, the recently released models we've all been reading about, right? Mythos, Codex, et cetera. All of that is definitely a tailwind. Folks are waking up and realizing that a legacy solution, it has manual processes where humans are spending half an hour investigating an incident, and you might have tens of thousands of those incidents every single week. How are you going to keep up with that? And those numbers are only going to keep growing. So you need to apply agents. You need to be able to see all of the data. Those are fundamental tenets of what we're doing with Lakewatch. And at the core level, this is a big data problem.
Yeah.
This has moved from being a specialized domain to big data.
Patrick, talk about this, because you're CTO and ops, so you have to run everything on the stack for security. SIEMs, outdated. This brings up an opportunity opportunity. What's your view on this for people watching as you look at the ops side of this and the technology, not necessarily Panther, but just security in general? How do you look at this holistically and fight this, and organize around it?
I think there's actually, I think, a retooling of the industry that needs to happen. Traditionally, your security teams were highly dependent on very specialized software that, while it's evolved, it hasn't fundamentally changed that much over the years. It's gotten better at what it does, but it still fundamentally has the same basic capabilities. And then signals came out of those tools to humans, who would then look at them on a screen at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that pattern just doesn't work anymore. As Andrew said, the velocity is going to increase dramatically. It already has. And the intensity and the time that we have to actually determine that there's a problem and contain it is going to shrink from 30 minutes or 10 minutes to milliseconds.
Yes.
And so we have to fundamentally rethink it. And one of the things I'm really pushing on with my team is I need to hire software developers and data experts, not your traditional security operations teams. They need to be able to write software to help find signal in the noise.
The agent opportunity is massive because you can actually cross boundaries too. You can say, hey, I'm seeing something in the network traffic. You can look at the data. I can quarantine that instantly in seconds. That would have taken a day. If malware comes through CrowdStrike or Palo Alto, whatever, like, wait a minute, something happened. It could be a full day.
Yeah.
You want that in seconds. That's the North Star, or in milliseconds. And then you want to have remediation, and that involves agents talking to maybe other systems. How do you think about that, and how should people really understand this new normal?
Yeah, so the way we think about it, yes, I do think they will talk to other systems. The way we're thinking about it is how do we, in as close to real time as possible, get the behavior of all the systems that matter into Lakewatch as fast as humanly possible. And there's a lot of capabilities that have been built in the last couple of years by this company. And I do believe once you get it there, we can start doing something with it. But we have to widen the aperture. Sometimes, as Andrew said, a fraudster or a cyber event may actually first manifest itself by a server spiking from a performance problem, or it could be a network port that drops. It could be an increased number of online account takeovers or fraud that happens with our customers. So we've got to bring all that data in to actually understand.
So accuracy is key.
Correct.
All right, let me ask you a question about Databricks, because one of the themes coming out of this event, as well as other events we've been covering, is the role of partnerships change, because they got so much good stuff coming out of the oven on the tech. You got a lot of velocity on technology. You already got a high velocity pace of play in your business.
Yeah.
How do you partner with Databricks? What are you guys doing? What's working? What are you going to double down on?
Yeah, we have a very high trust relationship, and I think partnership, they start with trust. So when we have a problem or we've caused an issue, we can have an honest conversation with Databricks about what our problem was, and likewise, when Databricks has a problem, we can have an honest conversation with them as well. And I think partnership has to be two-way. It has to be high trust. And look, we're building our core data lake for the entire company on Databricks. And we're a few years into that journey, and we think it's a great company.
You mentioned something on camera before we came on camera about putting security in with all your data earlier. What does that mean? Because I think I really like that approach. Explain your ideas around your security data. You had mentioned, hey, we're just going to put all of our security in where the data is.
Yes.
Is that the data lake? What does that look like?
Well, there's a couple different ways to think about it. One of which is when we bring the data in, it has to be secured. That's the first point. And so there's a lot of capabilities that Databricks brings to solve that, which we don't have the time to talk about. The second thing is that the traditional security data set that your average security person would look at is often in a separate system from where your business runs itself. So the data lake that the business uses to run itself, to look at P&Ls, financials, even things like fraud and financial crime and network availability, systems availability, they're all separate systems. And so we see there's real value in getting all of that stuff in one, and then allowing either a business process or a security process in the Lakewatches to actually harvest meaningful insights off all that data. And so that's why I think that this is such a good platform for this.
It's really innovative. Andrew, for you, on your division, what's your strategy going forward? What's your focus? What do you optimize? Obviously you're acquiring, you got organic growth and inorganic. What's your vision? What's your plan?
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to the problems that we're discussing right now, right? It's the attackers are moving faster at bigger scale, using AI. Defenders need to be using AI everywhere as a first-class tool throughout, right? That's the only way we're going to keep up. And so the strategy really is making it possible to bring in diverse types of data. Databricks is a brilliant platform for this, of course, so we can do structured, unstructured, you can pull in telemetry logs, the sort of bread and butter of SIEM, but you can also pull in data that you couldn't represent in a SIEM. You know, maybe it's code or Jira tickets or Slack messages, all of that context that then you can give to an agent, and the agent can find out if I'm, say, logging in from San Francisco today, and then 2 minutes later I log in from Melbourne. Is that because I'm testing something with NAB, or is it because my machine was compromised? Where's the context for that? Yeah. If you can provide that, you've solved a huge problem.
Patrick, you mentioned context and agents, so I have to ask you, what are you most excited about with Genie, agents, what you saw coming out here? Because if you get the context right, get the data right, now you can start deploying agents, and agents will do some work. What's your?
Well, I think about this whole area, whether it be data or AI or both of them together. Our job in technology is to democratize the company's information. So to get as much information in the hands of as many people as we possibly can, as soon as possible. Whether to manage a security incident or manage a P&L, our job is to make it easy for them to get what they need to run the business better. The interesting thing about what agents can do is, in today's world, they turn everyone into superhuman, because they allow you to, in essence, delegate tasks, automate tasks, and actually move much faster than you could at human speed. And so I think together, it's a really, really exciting time to be a builder, as many of us are in IT.
You're an engineer and a builder, it's a great time. If you're curious, I guess my final question, Patrick, for you is, how is that affecting your organization? Because now you're going to have a different kind of work environment. You have you have an intelligence injected into your company and all the systems. What's your view as a manager and leader?
I can tell you it's really hard. What we find is that we create other bottlenecks. So we will take software development, which everyone's doing right now, and what we do is we inject whatever the tool of the day is to write software, Python code in Genie or Java code with Cursor, it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, the security red teaming, they're the bottleneck, or the compliance guys are the bottleneck, or the tester. So we're actually having to try and systematically work through the upstream and the downstream bottlenecks so we can actually create a much faster software factory. But it's going to be everywhere. It'll be in security. But when we start really going hard at the rest of the company, whether it be in finance or HR or as bankers, everyone's going to have this conundrum about how do we speed the company up.
I mean, it's classic innovation. Problem moves to the next bottleneck. Work on that, and then hopefully get to the end. Say, are we done yet?
Yeah.
I mean, we're integrated in time. What's your upside vision of your organization? Looking forward, things start to play out. You start to see some automation. You start to see agentic kick in. What's the preferred future look like for you?
We're really committed to being a simpler, faster bank. And what that means is, it's a complicated thing to say, but we believe we have too many products and too many processes, and we need to remove the complexity so that we can actually speed up. Now the models will help with that, I do believe, and the democratization of data and agents will help with that. But we have to simplify our company so we can speed up. I do believe the whole planet is speeding up, and we must as well.
Patrick, I'll give you the final word. What's your vision, preferred future, and put a plug in for your group, news, value proposition, put a plug in.
So what's the future? I think the future is going to be agentic. It's going to be, how do we supercharge the SOC? How do we make them have them be able to answer this giant volume of alerts that they're seeing, do much smarter detections, move away from signature-based detections to more risk-based, and really meet this coming AI threat that we're seeing. So that's really what we're focused on, and we're building fast.
You got a lot of work to continue to do. There's plenty of things to work on. Every day something new comes out. We saw that with the models. You pointed that out. Thanks for coming on, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm John Furrier here, live streaming from the show floor of Databricks' Data and AI Summit. Again, security is a big part of it, governance, the data equation makes it work, and again, the velocity of opportunity and also challenges. As a management challenge, it's a people challenge, but AI can bring that superpower, and that's what we're hearing here on the floor. We'll be right back with more. Thanks for watching.